Okay, quick music disclaimer here. I do not own the rights to this music, which belongs to the rightful owner, who is the intoxicating mind of Dr. Frankenstein. So he made my intro and my outro, and I hope you guys enjoy. Check him out on Spotify and YouTube, and no copyright infringement is intended. Have a good day.
A clear choice of good versus evil, of right versus wrong.
Twisted Tales.
It's a Tales, folks. Hope everybody's having an awesome day. Now, my next case is pretty messed up. It's a case about drugs, sex, murder, necrophilia, and dismemberment. So there's definitely some trigger warnings in here. And I know I usually do tales within Canada, but we're going to step outside and do the United States for this episode. And it's a viewer requested episode, so I'm going to do this one, maybe a couple more down the road, and it might be a nice little change of pace. So we're going to talk about The Murder of Shad Thyrion by Taylor Denise Coronado. Or I guess since she changed her name, would be Taylor Schabuisness. So Shad Thyrion, he was a great kid, a little into drugs over the course of his life, but he was born September 7th, 1997 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And he attended Port High School and would later on meet Taylor Denise Coronado. So the two were more acquaintances and then became lovers. So Shad was about 5'6", about 155 pounds. He was described as his friends and family by being kind, compassionate, and kind of enjoyed wood carving in his spare time. Now, his parents were Tara Pakinich and Michael Thyrion. So this kid, like anybody, liked to go camping and hanging out with his loved ones. And over time, he would develop a drug addiction with his friend Taylor. So they were into like smoking meth, weed, and whatever else they could find. So Taylor, she was born November 23rd, 1997 in Chicago. So she's 5'2" in height, roughly 120 pounds. And like I said earlier, she changed her name from Coronado to Schabuisness in 2018. So during school and hanging out, like the two became close. And on the night of February 21st, around 9:30 p.m., Shad Thyrion was picked up at his mom's place at 829 Stony Brook Lane in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He was picked up by Taylor and another friend that was in her van. So they headed back to her Eastman Avenue apartment at 2353 Eastman Avenue. And this would be Green Bay, Brown County, Wisconsin. So all three hopped out and they headed into her apartment just to casually smoke meth, pot, and just shoot the shit. And the friend of Taylor's kind of left shortly after, so Taylor and Shad began to shoot up some trazodone. Now, for those that don't know, trazodone is like an antidepressant medication used to treat anxiety and depression. So it works by increasing your levels of serotonin and noradrenaline, kind of make you feel better. So like if you have issues sleeping, low mood, or poor concentration, this medication will help you. Just don't melt it down and shoot it into yourself with needles. Just take it as your physician prescribed. And while on the high of the new party favors, they decided to get messed up pretty quickly. And they wanted to drive over to Shad's mother's house to have sex. So this was a little plan that was in the works. Now they pulled up and headed into the basement. Shad's mother was still home at the time, and she was preparing to leave with her boyfriend. And this is about 9:30, 9:45. So before leaving, Shad's mother kind of remembers hearing Taylor's voice, but there wasn't much talking from her son. Now, shortly after the mom left, the two began to use meth again. So, meth is like a stimulant. It'll completely increase your dopamine, the happy little hormones in our brain that give us pleasure and motivation. Now, mixing this with trazodone surely wouldn't be a good mix for things. I mean, it causes depression, paranoia, and hallucinations. And the two lovers were into some kinky shit. Like, we all have our vices. They got pleasure from strangulation, and they both done this numerous times throughout their sex lives. So the two chains they had were mainly just choke chains for dogs, and there was one for each of them. Now Taylor began playfully choking Shad, feeling his heart beat with every slight choke, and it began beating faster and faster, and she started choking him, pulling at the chain harder each time. Eventually, she realized that he was going unconscious, and his face started turning purple, and then blood started oozing from his mouth. So after noticing that she killed Shad, she continued to break out the sex toys to use on him. Now necrophilia comes into play here, and that's just fucking gross. So she started performing oral sex on his lifeless body. She continued on with these acts for about 2 to 3 hours. Then a light went off in her head. She got this great idea of dismembering the body. And she did this with a set of kitchen knives from the upstairs kitchen. And as I mentioned earlier, like the dope she took started to make her paranoid, and this would be what she would later call lazy. Her plan was to bring all of Shad's body parts with her upon leaving the household, but she felt like shit from the drugs, and her plan was eventually falling apart. So she only took a leg and a foot with her in the van, leaving the rest of the body parts scattered around the basement. Now, around 2:30 to 3 a.m. on February 23rd, Shad's mom was home, and she could hear a door being slammed from the wind as, like, it wasn't properly shut. She also heard a vehicle driving around, and she just assumed it was Taylor's vehicle. So she saw a light on in the basement and ventured down to see if her son was still home, or, like, if both were in the basement, because she didn't know if the two left together, or it was just Taylor that was down there, or what. So she looked in the basement and didn't see anyone. But when she got to the bottom of the stairs, upon a second look, she kind of noticed a bucket at the bottom of the stairs, and it was covered with a towel. She removed the towel, and she discovered her son's severed head. I mean, that's gotta be tough. I mean, especially, like, yeah, I don't even want to think of that. So she picked up the phone and immediately phoned the Green Bay police. They came to Stony Brook Lane around 3:25 a.m. Now, police looked in the basement, and they said it was like a horror movie scene. Upon checking the bucket, they found his severed head and his penis inside, along with some bodily fluids and some knives. Now, the other body parts were strewn about the basement in plastic bags. A couple more knives were found from the kitchen set, and his upper torso was found in a storage tote. Many had, it had many rigorous cuts on it. And there was evidence of drug use. There was a glass pipe found and some light colored powder. And pretty sketchy for cops. I mean, especially walking into that and you don't know what the fuck. Like, you're like, okay, there's a severed head here, nobody's here. And they started thinking, like, hey, where's the girlfriend? Now we gotta go look for her. Now, as some of the cops took off to go find her, others stayed back at the scene to check it out. Now, in the basement, they'd found blood, and even in the stand-up shower, there was also blood in there, because she drained the blood from Shad's body into the shower drain after she dismembered him. Now, police kind of looked into Taylor's record before starting the search, and she seen she was previously convicted of some unrelated fleeing, eluding and obstructing a police officer's charges, mostly just some petty shit. But nothing as serious and graphic as these horrific crimes. I mean, the torso of his body would be found with his left foot stuffed up into his chest. Like, that's messed up. And eventually they just end up at her apartment at 2353 Eastman Avenue. They seen her van there, and they began to search it. Now, Taylor noticed the police outside, and she came outside to see, what was going on, all while wearing the bloody sweatshirt, and her hands were still covered in blood from the crime. She thought the police were actually there for other warrants that she had. Now, upon searching the vehicle, the cops found a crock pot inside on the rear passenger seat, which also contained some body parts. Now, police asked her, what happened? And she replied with, "That's a good question." And she was taken into police custody for further questioning by detectives. So they noticed the cuts on her thumb, scratches on her arms, and her hands. So she tried to kind of change the story to say that she blacked out, and detectives told her about the victim's mother finding the head in the bucket. And she said, "Damn, the head. I can't believe I left the head though." And when asked where some of the other body parts were, she replied with, "Police are going to have fun trying to find all the organs that I dismembered." So during a police investigation, the police bullshitted with her about how she dismembered the body. So she got talking about the whole crime and about how she used a kitchen knife set that she found upstairs in the kitchen, saying that a bread knife worked better because of the serrated blade. And when she began cutting the body up, she actually got paranoid from all the dope. So the conversation of the murder began to be told by Taylor, and pretty much about how her and her friend picked up the victim, smoked drugs, and then shot him up with trazodone. Then they drove to her mother's place to have sex. So she got into detail about it, about the chains used, and she mentioned how she could feel his heart beating while she choked him. And then she realized that he was dead, but wanted to continue on choking him nonetheless. So she began playing with his body after he died. She said, "Yeah, I liked it," in a lower kind of voice. And she noticed that it already went too far. So why not continue, she said. She wanted to see what would happen, and it took him about 3 to 5 minutes to die. She made comments like, "If you only knew what it was like to love something so much that you kill it," which is kind of like a bold move. Like maybe she didn't care about what she was saying to police. I don't know. Could have just been the drugs, right? She said she spent all day Tuesday in the basement with the body, dismembering him throughout the night. And this continued into Wednesday morning. Now, she entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, and this was entered by her former attorney. A physician that was appointed by the court found Taylor perfectly fit to stand trial. Taylor's attorney said that she'd been diagnosed as bipolar about since grade 7, and she was currently undergoing mental health treatment. I mean, even having a bipolar and all that, like, would that play a factor into this? Maybe. But drugs, everything else, definitely. So, continuing on, in February, Taylor attacked her previous attorney, Quinn Jolly, during a court hearing. She actually had to be restrained and tackled to the floor by deputies. And this was on February 14th, 2023. And after this, Jolly requested the trial date be pushed back so experts could kind of determine her competency to stand trial. And even after 10 minutes of the attack, Jolly told Judge Walsh that he plans to file a motion to be removed from the case. And he was replaced by Christopher Froelich on July 26th. So, a jury convicted Taylor of first-degree intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. Judge Walsh had her sentencing for September 26th of next month. So I'm sure I'm going to pop off an update on this crazy fucking case. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this fucking twisted tale. And I'm sure I'll do more American ones for you guys very soon. I get a lot of requests from viewers in my emails, so I'll get to each and every one of them. I just want to thank you guys for listening, taking your time into your day for little old me. And I'll be back with a couple more pretty quick. I mean, you can check us out on Spotify, the Anchor app, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music app, and I'm actually now on Radio Public. So now, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Take care. So, just a little bit about Taylor's father there. Now, he was in the courtroom and kind of testified in her defense. And his dad was already in jail for crimes he committed in 2018. So, Arturo Coronado is actually her father. So, he's about 52 and he's currently serving jail. Now, he took the stand in like the second phase of her trial, and on Thursday, they kind of deliberated whether Schabuisness was not responsible for the crimes by reason of mental disease or defect. And a jury of 8 women and 4 men quickly rejected the plea Thursday evening, and this took them about an hour of deliberating, meaning that Schabuisness would go to prison for Thyrion's murder rather than a mental health institution. And, it's just pretty bad how all this had to shake down. I mean, the poor kid lost his life. I mean, not a cool thing. So, even Coronado's testimony in his daughter's trial, he claimed that the death of her mother and brother had taken a toll on her mental health, and that she'd spent time in a psychiatric center because she wasn't in the right state of mind. He claimed that she was put on medication, and he was always worried about her physical and mental health. And even when it came down to the podium, he told his daughter that he loved her, and he added in, "Go Bears," as that was her favorite sports team. And even her brother, AJ Coronado, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And this kind of played a factor in everything as well. So, it's just a bad scene. And even in 2022, she actually made a Facebook post. She kind of went off and told an addict that, "I'll never stop buying you dope just so I could sit back and watch you die." I mean, that's the kind of shit that, we're talking about here with her. I mean, totally, mental illness plays a factor in this, and hopefully she does get the help she needs and, properly sentenced for this gruesome murder. So, we'll pop back with another update there when that's available. I hope you guys have a wicked night.
I love you too. Go Bears. Take care.
Next witness, Mr. Freilich. Verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabuisness, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information, dated this date, July 26th, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The second verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabuisness, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information, dated this date, July 26th, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The next verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabuisness, guilty of third-degree sexual assault as charged in count 3 of the information, dated this date, 26th day of July, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The verdicts appear to be in order.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin with that breaking news just into the newsroom from the murder trial of Taylor Schabuisness in Brown County.
After just deliberating about a half an hour, that jury finding Taylor Schabuisness guilty on all 3 counts, as you just heard. As we've reported, Schabuisness entered pleas of not guilty to those 3 felony counts, including first-degree intentional homicide for the death of Shad Thyrion in February of 2022.
Some of the final evidence presented to the jury today was more than 70 minutes of video this afternoon. Schabuisness telling investigators in great detail she was doing meth and other drugs with Shad Thyrion just hours before she strangled him to death with a chain. She told police she then cuddled Thyrion's body before dismembering him with kitchen knives from the home. During the interview, jurors heard Schabuisness tell the detectives she planned to take his body with her so she couldn't get caught. Both the state and the defense giving closing arguments just after 4 o'clock today.
I would argue that it's not a clear case here. Was this an accidental death? Did Taylor Schabuisness kill Shad Thyrion? Was there intent to kill Shad Thyrion? Did Taylor Schabuisness have the mental purpose to kill Shad Thyrion? Different theories, different things for you to think about. You are all like analysts, and you have to assess and decipher the facts. The facts here are very complicated, confusing, unclear.
And we know exactly what she did because the words from her mouth told you with specificity what she did. Can we trust always what Taylor Schabuisness says? No, but as Mr. Saunders told you, we trust but we verify. We didn't stop at taking her statement. We corroborated. She guided the investigation.
Now, there is a second phase of this trial scheduled for tomorrow, which will focus on whether Schabuisness is responsible for the crime or if she was suffering from a mental disease or defect at the time of the killing.
Twisted Tales.